Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Lubna Dajani, Chair of Catalyst Now USA Chapter and Managing Director of Ultimate. It is my honor to welcome you to the inaugural day of CCW2025, a day dedicated to mental health, well-being, and the undeniable role of art in social change. Around the world, mental health challenges affect nearly 1 billion people. That's right, about 13.6% of our global family. Anxiety impacts 284 million, depression reaches 264 million. And more than 700,000 lives are lost to suicide each year. The economic cost, over $1 trillion. Still, only 9% of those diagnosed with depression receive treatment. These numbers only stand to remind us how deeply this impacts each and every one of us. But today isn't only about the challenges. Today is about how we can change the narrative. Across the globe, artists and social innovators together are building models of care that are accessible, inclusive, and are rooted in real lived experiences. Technology extends our reach and unlocks our hidden creativity. And art isn't just a reflection. It's an active force in healing and connection. Art turns stigma into understanding, and it opens safe spaces for sharing. It sparks compassion and mobilizes communities for social change. Today, you will see and hear how artists and innovators are using culture and imagination through music, storytelling, and visual arts to challenge norms, change narratives, and spark new possibilities. By caring for each other and by competing to complete each other's work to a common goal, and by embracing empathy, imagination, and creativity, we can truly reimagine the systems that are shaping our world today. I welcome you, CCW 2025.
Thank you so much for paying attention to that. I also welcome you. And I think Lubna was giving us the right introduction, because if in all Catalyst, I know people that embrace empathy and creativity, that is Abigail and Renia. So thank you once again for putting together this amazing conversation to us. And without further ado, over to our hosts of the week.
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'm saying good morning because I'm joining from Ottawa. I'm speaking to you from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. And I recognize and honor the long history of the Algonquins as the customary keepers and defenders of this beautiful territory. And I acknowledge that I am an uninvited guest with the privilege to live and work here as a settler. And I also acknowledge the historical oppression of lands, cultures, and the original peoples in what we know as Canada. And I want to contribute to the healing and decolonizing journey that we all share together. And I'm sharing this acknowledgement because this isn't really separate from the work that we're doing today. When we talk about intergenerational collaboration, we're talking about honoring wisdom that has been passed down, about listening deeply to those who came to us from before. And it's also about creating conditions where multiple ways of knowing can coexist and strengthen one another. So Indigenous communities have always understood this, and they built systems of knowledge transfer and collective care across generations, even in the face of efforts to erase them. So our workshop today asks us to think about how we collaborate across generations with limited resources. And this question, I believe, requires us to look honestly at whose resources have been limited and why. And it also asks us to consider what collaboration truly means when power and access has never been evenly distributed. So I'm really here as someone who believes that meaningful change happens when we strengthen our inner capacity to lead differently, and when we examine our inner conditioning, and when we integrate our full selves, and then when we create pathways that's rooted in authenticity and collaboration rather than extraction. So this is the lens I'm bringing with you today in our conversation, and I'm really, really grateful that you're all here with us. And so we're going to be talking about collaboration, but we're also going to be doing it where we can be partners, and we'll be prototyping this together. So I'm going to give the mic now to Rania. Yeah, it's all yours.
Thank you, Abigail. And just to follow up, I'm speaking from Eastern Ontario, where Abigail also is, and in my part, in the southern part of Eastern Ontario, I'm on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat people. And in fact, Tyendinaga Mohawk territory is just up the road from me, so I have the privilege of a lot of cultural interaction with some wonderful, amazing Mohawk artists. I'm here because 25 years ago, I started a cross-cultural education center after many years of working in newcomer settlement in Toronto, working with adults and primarily teaching English, as well as various other aspects of cultural adaptation. And one of the things I found at that time was, for me, having myself studied languages for quite a few years and lived abroad, the immersive experience is really the best way of learning anything. And also it's a way of creating the opportunity for oneself to engage in lifelong learning because of the transformative effect of stepping outside of one's usual patterns of thinking and speaking. So I had the opportunity, as I say, 25 years ago, to buy a property here in Prince Edward County, set up a place where I could invite people to have a very different experience than they would have in the highly multicultural city of Toronto, of engaging with local history and people who have been here for a lot of generations, including the people in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. So one of the things I want to stress is when I first met Abigail and found out that, first of all, and this was in the breakout group, by the way, through Catalyst, at a General Assembly, and found out she was in Ottawa, which is only 2.5 hours away from me, which opened up the possibility of meeting in person. And that she's engaged in transformative leadership. Right away, I knew that we had something very much in common, common ground in which to speak to each other. So we started engaging in regular meetings and developing a conversation. And I thought at one point when the announcement was made that this week CCW was coming up, I suggested, well, why don't we collaborate on a session? And to my delight, she said yes. And so here we are today. And I thought, okay, well, one of the things that we could do is to present an example, build on an example of an initiative that was already in the works. I had the good fortune in March of this year to visit the island of Grenada in the Caribbean. And my host at the time, who had taught for 23 years in a girls' high school, offered to take me on a tour of the high school, which I was delighted to do. It's one of the oldest schools in Grenada. And I found out there was a choir in this school. So there was a choir of 50 to 60 girls. And it so happens that I belong to a women's choir and have for 20 years since I moved to this area. So, Mary, could you put up the slide that will give some people an indication of what this choir is all about? Here we are. So the choir is called Shout Sister. And it was founded by Georgette Fry in 2002 when she was approached by a group of women who had appreciated her lifelong work as a singer and composer. And this group of women said, how about putting together a choir? And she said, I don't know anything about directing a choir. I've never done that before. But they persisted, and she eventually agreed, and Shout's Sister Community Choir was started at that time. Now, the songs that we sing are really connected to this message of peace, love, and understanding. We draw from a repertoire of mostly the Canadian and American songbook, and we are happy to be performing at all sorts of community venues like seniors' homes and so forth. And it's a very inclusive choir, so it welcomes all ages of women and women-identified people. And we raise a lot of money for charity with our year-end concert. So to date, we've raised over $200,000 for local charities with the various chapters of the choir. So this is something that I've come to know from my own personal experience is an extremely beneficial way of connecting with people in community, but much more than that. As someone who's taught language for a long time, the ability to learn a language through singing was not lost on me. In fact, I started doing it when I was 15 years old and decided to learn Russian. And I did so by learning Russian songs. So by the time I got to university, I was really familiar with the sound patterns of the language. But more than that, nowadays it's being recognized as having choir singing, that is, as having a lot of mental health and physical health benefits. Mary, if you could put up the next slide. So in Canada and in the UK, and probably a number of other countries now, it comes under what's called social prescribing. So this is when doctors advise their patients to look into choir singing as opposed to taking prescription medication for all of these conditions and improvements that can be derived from singing regularly with a group of people. So here are some of the benefits, and there are many more, including language training, as I mentioned, but certainly respiratory function and mood elevation. That's a really interesting part of it, is the release of mood-altering hormones through singing is an extremely powerful effect that, in fact, helps to elevate the pain threshold and improve the immune response, as you see here. But from my point of view, also, a very important part of it is the gain in self-confidence and self-esteem, and especially for younger women, and in fact, for all women. It's really important for women to find their voices, not just their singing voices or the voices they use in performance, but that confidence goes through daily life, and it gives women the confidence to speak their truths, speak what they feel, and it's really one of the most powerful effects. So this choir performance, and next slide, please, Mary. So this is why when I found out there was a choir at St. Joseph's Convent School in St. George's, and not only that, it was founded by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Cluny, so right away we have sisterhood there. And I spoke to the choir director. She understood immediately how interesting it would be to collaborate on a song that we sing in our choir, part of our repertoire. So she agreed to teach it to the girls in her choir so that they could do a video that we could exchange with the video that we do here and form a connection between our organizations. So in where I live, it's very much a seniors dominated area. So for us in the local choirs here, because there are several chapters, it's really an opportunity to connect with the energy of much younger women and girls who are singing from the same songbook, as we say. So through Abigail, I also was able to meet somebody else who's actually here today, Musa Kone in Sierra Leone, and he saw the opportunity to incorporate that into the skills building programs that they have in his country. And we're just in the process now of putting that in place. So this is an example of how the possibility of meeting somebody through Catalyst, starting a conversation by which we were able to identify alignments in purpose and in interests, and to develop relationships of trust, because with co-creation, trust is a very important part of getting projects off the ground, and the possibility of opening up this example to work with other organizations that have the same sort of direction that we feel is important in the social innovation field today. So this is what we're up to right now, and we want to give you the opportunity to participate with each other in finding ways that, given what you're doing already or would like to do, and see as really important in your particular areas, to co-create and figure out what kind of project that has these characteristics of being cross-cultural and being intergenerational. What kind of possibilities could you come up with in the breakout groups that we're going to take you into that might be able to start initiatives or amplify initiatives that you already have, as in the case of where, well, I've already got this started, let's see what kind of momentum we could create with this together. So that's something that I hope you'll get some inspiration from. And I just want to mention that we're also going to be doing a follow-up with the Conversation Cafe on November 20th. So Mary is going to put that link to that in the chat. And that will give us an opportunity to speak some more on this topic, and to perhaps find out, do some follow-up on what you come up with in your groups. So thank you.
Thank you, Rania. Maybe before, because I can't see people, I see there's the 18 of us here. I can see people's faces. So, and you can't see other people's faces. So before we can collaborate and co-create, perhaps it would be nice if we can hang out with each other and we can go to breakout. And in the breakout room, you'll have 5 minutes just to introduce yourself, and maybe talk about inner resources that inner resources, or maybe just hang out. Oh, I can see your face. So 5 minutes together, introduce yourself, where you're joining from, what generations do you belong to, and what are you carrying to the space today? What brought you here? So just 5 minutes to get to know each other. Oh, I see some familiar faces, Kristen, Isabel. So I will let Mary do her magic to
Amazing.
kick it off.
So we're all ready to go. I'm also posting the questions that you invited us to
Mhm.
reflect on in the chat right now. So this can help us ignite the conversation, and hope you have a great time. See you all in 5 minutes.
I don't think I got placed.
Howard, let me check. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. There we go. Let's see. Cynthia, do you need any support or help? Hi, Muta.
Yes, Mary, how are you?
All good, all good. Happy to be sharing this session.
Yeah, I'm
Everybody's
really happy
coming
to be here.
back.
I find the breakouts always energizing. It's nice to meet people. Is everyone back? So does anyone want to share anything that they got from that quick conversation, if you want to put your energy out in the room? I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, no worries. Anyone have anything to share or wanna? I had a really fun conversation with Mariana. So if no one wants to share anything, I don't know if anyone wants to share anything. If not, we'll go
I'll
into
just mention that
okay, Daniel.
Jen and I were the only ones with functioning mics in our group, and we were delighted to find out we have a very similar background in the study of religion, and so we got to talk about the applications, especially in today's world, of that kind of background training. So, and that's what I always find in these breakout groups. It's amazing, these commonalities that we can find with people we've never met before.
Yeah, my conversation with Mariana was about living not pre-technology, but it was just kind of neat to how that affects our worldviews and affect how we show up. I don't know, Mariana, I don't want to put you on the spot if you want to share anything about our conversation.
I don't know if you can hear me. I feel like my camera has just stopped on me, but if you can hear me, okay. Yeah, no, we were just chatting that. So Abigail asked me what I love the way that the question was phrased as well, because it was not how old are you, or it was kind of which generation do you identify with, or which generation you are. And I just said that I love the fact that I am one of those lucky people who, when I was born, there was no technology widely available. So I was outside, running, eating grass, not caring about anything, right? But then I grew up with technology. So it was not widely available. So it was given to me in a measured way. So I learned how to coexist with technology 10 minutes at a time, and then a few years later, an hour at a time. And I love that because I know the before and I know the after. And then I just shared as well that I actually grew up with my grandparents. They raised me, and I think that gave me a beautiful perspective of what it is to talk with people who have such different life experiences from me. And that gave me this, like, I feel like level of, I don't know, just understanding and empathy for younger generations who I work with currently, and the way they experience the world through technology, but also my grandparents who just see things in a completely different way.
Thank you for sharing, Mariana. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I didn't want to misrepresent what you shared with me because there were lots of wisdom there, I thought. Anyone else want to share anything? Howard? Oh, you can feel free to unmute.
Sorry. Yeah, there we are. Technology. So my mom died in about 1990. So it's a while ago, right? Which means she was born in the 1920s. And one of the very last conversations we had when she was still kind of coherent and all that was, Mom, what technologies did you have in your house? What did you grow up with? Now, I'm writing this from the perspective of somebody who was actually writing a newspaper column for 100 newspapers about consumer technology. So I knew a lot, and I knew a lot of the history. She said, well, we had an ice box where we'd have to take the ice and put it in the box in order to cool things, or we'd use the window during the winter. I'm like, yeah. She said, we had a stove, was gas. You'd light a match, you'd put it in the stove and hope nothing blew up. We had a radio, but they were too poor growing up to have records. That's it. Phone call, go to the candy store on the corner. I'm like, cars? Nah, not really. Not until, married and I'm a mom of two. Like anything else? She's like, no. So it just gives you a sense of like, that's that's what I came from, right? And then gradually it's like, oh, we have a record player or we have an FM radio or some, other things like that. Now it's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's changed a lot since her time. And her context and what she taught me were all about relationships and neighborhood. They had nothing to do with, be sure to change the settings on your iPhone.
Can I ask you something about that, Howard?
Sure.
Since you're involved with kids training, it occurred to me recently as I was going through a lot of my old technology and trying to
Yeah.
figure out what do I keep, what do I throw out, and so forth. Do you think it would be valuable to introduce kids to examples of old technology, just so that they could have the sensory experience, for example, of holding a phone that was a landline phone, or an old camera, given the weight of the camera, so forth, because the sense of touch is something that's so important. And that's one of the concerns I have, is how when people read a lot on screens as opposed to holding actual books, that part of brain wiring is not happening. And there's been enough evidence in neuroscience to indicate that when we engage with all of our five senses,
Yeah.
the impact is stronger. I mean, that's what I was trying to say before about immersion training and having multiple sensory experiences at the same time. And I just thought you might have some ideas about that.
So I think the most important thing is what we're doing now. I don't think that it's knowing how to dial a phone or how to turn a TV set on. I think it's looking at each other and talking to each other. I think that's the idea of collaboration in any form, I think is the strongest form of learning. And I don't much care what device it happens on, right? I mean, I like to read, I like books better than I like Kindle and all that, but it's not a transformative experience. But to talk to you, and you're in Canada and I'm in the US, but there's other people who are in different places, that's magic to me. I mean, when I click on Zoom and I go, whoa, you're in Ethiopia and you're on my desk, and I still can't process that. Like just every GA, I'm looking at that going, how is this even possible? And why does it work? And it works all the time, or just about all the time. And then we can have conversations one on one and I'll send you an email and we'll set up a time on our digital calendars to what? How'd that happen? So I think that's the important thing is the experience of it, not the tactile. This used to be bigger, or you used to have a camera and a phone, and now you have one. I don't
Right.
think that's. I think it's just cool that we can do what we're doing. I don't know. What does everybody else think?
I think that's a nice segue, Howard, for our next segment, actually, because we're going to send you to breakout, because the best part of doing this kind of thing is, yeah, we can co-create and collaborate and co-create with each other from the different parts of the world. So what we've designed for you to do is to go back into breakout, and I'm just going to outline the steps that we're going to do. It's essentially, well, follow 4 steps, and this is going to be pretty fast because I just want you to get a taster of how to collaborate in real time. And we can go deeper after this session in November 20th at the Conversation Cafe, or you can go deeper with your community. And if you want details of this framework, of course, I'll be happy to share with you. But essentially, in the breakout group, each of you will talk about something that you care deeply about related to the SDG categories. What is it that you really care deeply about? Is it mental health and well-being, for example, or intergenerational collaboration, whatever it may be? And think about a skill or resource that you can have to offer. And then at the end of that conversation, come up together. What do you have in common? What's the shared heartbeat from that? And I'm sharing this because Rania and I were just talking about, systems change happens like by changing structures, connecting the dots. But at the same time, it also happens by changing our mindset, by recognizing the resources that we have within us. And that resource could be, you might have some gifts that you don't think you can't sell, because in our society, everything has to be monetized. But sometimes you have amazing gifts, like you have a great voice, you have extra time. What is that? What's your gift? That's a resource that's so unique to you that you can offer your community or the world. And then the second part of the exercise or the practice is to name a specific community together, of a specific need that you think, okay, we can do this. I don't know. It could be there's a bunch of folks in our neighborhood that don't have access to a car, and they can't buy their groceries. Based on the SDG or the heartbeat that you have identified in your group, what can you do? And what's the experience or what it is that you're going to achieve together? And then after you've done that, you will map together. This is very quick. I have 7 minutes, but it's really should be 5 minutes. Just map together what lives inside you and your community. What are the outer resources? What's there that you can physically access? If you identify a need, let's say, I don't know, not enough people have transportation, and the outer resources is like, I have an extra car parked in my driveway or the neighbor in front of me that's not being used. So what are those outer resources? And then also the network resources. Who do you know and who do they know? And how can they participate in this experience? And again, very quick, 5 minutes, you will prototype a design. If you have 30 days to action on what you've identified as the need and opportunity, given the resources you have, the inner resources, the outer resources, and the network resources, what can you realistically do in 30 days? So that is the lab, and that is the challenge. Any questions? No? So maybe,
Abigail,
yeah?
I'm curious for the breakouts, what do you recommend for us to focus on within the 5 minutes? Because it looks like this would take a lot more time to walk through the full model. What is your recommendation for this time that we have?
I would recommend find one SDG that really appeal, it's mental health. Find one SDG and focus on that. I guess we're all here with Catalyst because we care for SDGs and to support. So I think just pick one, don't debate, because this is really just a quick exercise. So if there's something that you can focus on, mental health and well-being, for example, that's the theme of this week. So what about mental health and well-being? What can you do about it? How can you contribute to that? Does that answer the question, Kristen? And maybe, Mary, if you could share the next slide about the principles. So yeah, I wanted to share as well about caring economy principles. It's like, it's starting with what's present, not what's missing. Really identify what's there. And resources aren't just financial. It's not because you have no grants, no funding, nothing in your bank account that you don't have any resources. And relationships are the resource. And inner resources also unlock outer possibilities, because sometimes we feel like we don't have enough or we don't have anything. It's probably because of us kind of limiting our abilities to connect. So iterate and adapt. And we think in ecosystems, not silos as well. Everything is an opportunity to come up with something new. And you honor reciprocity and also small actions and systemic impact. So these are the principles that I'm offering, but feel free as well to add what you think should be included as a caring economy principle. Is good. Are there any questions before we send you off to your groups? Mary?
All right. Opening the rooms right now. Mm. Mm. Mm.
We all back?
Yes.
So welcome back, everyone. How was that? That was that was very quick, right? So anyone who wants to share the energies, what did you learn from your time together in your breakout? Because that was sort of that was quick, right? I think we've lost some people.
Abigail, I could share from our group. I really appreciated the guiding principles that you shared with us to focus on, what we have, what's available, what are those skills and resources, and to have that be our focus. I was with Carolina and Ty, and we actually have really complementary skills. I think we could do a real life project pretty well because we all found that we have very different skills and that would work together pretty well. So we centered around mental health and well-being, and we were talking about youth with AI. And initially we're thinking of maybe spaces disconnected from technology, but where we ended up was maybe providing some spaces for connection with some support for guidance and stewardship for youth for how to engage with AI in a way that will give them tools and help them build for their human connections and for their life. So we had a really energizing conversation, and I think it was a lot because of the framework that you shared that sort of centered around what are we bringing and how can we put those together and what would that look like. It set us off down a path of really dreaming and imagining what could be real and possible. So thanks for that practice.
You're welcome, Kristen. Thank you so much. And before the session, Rainy and I were chatting, and I was saying it will be amazing if we can just, I think our goal for the session is achieved if we can just realize like how much resources we have on our own, and imagine creating connections where we can combine those resources together. Because sometimes I think in social impact space, sometimes we also become kind of not victim, but we can get affected by scarcity mindset as well. They'll be like, oh, there are no funding, there are no money, there's no grants. What can we do? But there's also stuff that we can do in small ways, especially when we connect and co-create together. I want to mention, I'll be happy. The framework that I shared is actually quite detailed, and I did it in very, very quick, super quick, because rather than sharing it as a presentation, I wanted you to get a taste of it. But you're welcome. I'm happy to share the actual framework. And I see Isabel. She's an expert on this. I'm putting her on the spot, but she has years of experience in this kind of work. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but she's also another resource here.
Oh, for sure. You can put me on the spot. Do you want me to share what's happening?
Please go ahead.
It was an interesting conversation. I think we tried to focus on the mental health goal, and we kind of navigating our areas of interest, which my expertise in education. We had another member who is exploring educational innovation as a long-time educator. She's trying to start her own practice and looking outside of Belgium. So someone from Belgium joined us. And it was very interesting to share knowledge and kind of tease out ideas of potential spaces to explore for her. I think we landed on the fantastic project that we have very close to us from Rainia around women's collaborations and in a social enterprise to bring their voices to build awareness about very important topics, the history of I believe a lot of social justice and that exists behind a lot of music that this choir of women are, bringing and building together, and at the same time raising funds for incredible causes abroad. So it was a little bit of getting to know each other, understanding where we can continue the exploration around education and the mental health issues. We touched also on the topic of, and right now we're seeing the impact of the pandemic on the educational outcomes of a lot of young people and young and children, and truly the need for innovation outside of current structural education systems, and a lot of questions around that. So that's that summary. It was more an exploration than deciding on some specific collaboration. And then I said that I wanted to join the choir.
That's so good, because you are close to Rania. You're in Toronto.
Yeah.
Great. Does anyone else want to share their takeaway from their group? Lucas, is there anything you want to share? Are you part of the other groups?
Oh, I just joined in.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
And had a wonderful conversation with Mary about her day and about also mental health mentioned that this format which we are having, where we can talk, is much better than last time in the General Assembly. I had the last presentation on psilocybin, and there was a lot of people who were writing in the chats, but there was no possibility to talk afterwards. So I told her that it's really good when you have this presentation mixed with conversation session, especially when there's a topic which you have to really think about or have to change your attitude. Like in psilocybin, in most countries it's like a heroin, like a big drug, while at the same time it's 60 years of research that say it's one of the best medication for mental health, although meditation is also very good. Yes.
Okay.
And singing.
Rania?
And I was just going to say meditation and singing are very good for mental health.
Yes, singing is also perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for sharing. The two folks in my group are I don't see them on the screen, but we had a really lively and stimulating conversation about climate change and the impact on this information on climate change on climate workers. So we've identified in my group, because I was there, we came up with a statement that we want to help support science-based we want to help support science-based climate workers so that we can have a collective that fights disinformation and also a collective that fights, and they want me to keep the word fight, on impact on mental health. Because someone in our group is talking about it's almost like a post-trauma of how they're being treated, how they're being denied entry to countries or conferences. There's lots of disinformation and hostility on people working for climate change and climate justice. And Mariana, I don't know if she's still here, but she ended our group breakout with a really inspiring note because we're kind of thinking about, well, there's lots happening and what can we do within our sphere of influence and control. So one of the resources we've identified is like even writing, writing or connecting with resources who are more knowledgeable on the subject and helping them come up with information that can be shared. And Mariana shared also the micro actions, that sometimes we become overwhelmed by big things like changing the system, but there's also micro actions that we can commit to doing. And within our sphere of influence that we can that can catalyze the bigger action. So I'm going to use that to segue to give the floor to Rania on some of the commitments maybe and other harvesting that we can do together. Is that okay, Rania? Because
Yeah, I mean, as far as the commitments are concerned, I think it'll take people some time to process what has been discussed today, to think about it. And some of the people aren't here now, but I just want to let people know again that we are organizing a conversation cafe on November 20th, in which we can carry on with this conversation with any creative ideas that you've come up with that you'd like to be working with, or perhaps having conversations with people you didn't get a chance to talk with in the breakout groups today. But certainly we'd be very happy to answer any further questions, go into any further details at that time. And also, since I expect many of you will be going to further sessions this week, in which a lot more will be explored about the various themes that are part of the Catalyzing Change Week, and how Catalyst now can help us to organize initiatives I think it will be a wonderful opportunity to revisit some of these conversations that we initiated today, and explore further the possibility and give updates on any collaborations that we've talked about in today's session. So I really,
Renia,
yeah.
just
Mary?
a little addition to what you just mentioned. So I just posted the registration link in the chat.
Thank you.
But don't worry, because everybody that signed up for the session will receive the invitation to the second part. We'll probably share the recording of this first part plus the invitation to the second part in case they want to revisit the recording or they missed a little part. Everything is going to be there, and we'll also remind others. And if you think that there's more than will resonate with this approach, with these principles, with this conversation, of course, we are also open to other participants joining in.
Thank you for that. Yes,
Thank you, Mary.
definitely. I think we're on a roll here with some of the connections that have been made, and that's what we're all here for, definitely. So yes, I mean, and everybody who isn't connected already are more than welcome to connect on LinkedIn with Abigail or myself, and to carry on any further conversations that might have been inspired by today.
And I'm actually thinking, Mary, on the record, I guess when we send out the invitation for the Conversation Cafe, we can even include the framework just to remind people so that they can take a look before they come, so that we can advance the conversation or deepen the conversation. So yeah, thank you all. Oh, there you go. I will give you, yeah, I will let you close us.
Amazing. So I personally loved the guiding principles, and I also share them in the chat. Again, I would like to thank you because Abigail and Renia, you always invite us to show up with what's present and what we do have. And something that you do with your own example is exactly that. So you generously offer and put at our reach all the talents that you have and open all the conversations that you can through all these frameworks that are amazing. And I would like to thank you for doing that. Also, an invitation on, as Renia said, while we navigate Catalyzing Change Week and the rest of the sessions, not only what's your biggest take-home message, but how are you gonna show up for the other sessions? Thinking about what's lacking or thinking about what's present, right? So thinking about resources only in a monetary way, or opening up and broadening that resource concept. So there's a lot of things that I think I'm really grateful that we had this conversation on a Monday, because now we can navigate the rest of the sessions with all these principles in our head and with all these principles in our heart as well. Thank you, everybody. And I don't know, Abigail or Renia, if you want to say some final words before we close the session, that would be amazing.
I want to say thank you to Mary, because I always love your energy, and thank you for joining the flow and for supporting us with all the technical and all the other, not just technical, all the content as well. So I'm grateful for your presence. You're always a gift to see and to have in the space. And thank you, Rania, and thank you everyone who joined us, and also for those who stayed till the end. And Kristen, I love that she's wearing purple too, the same as
Well, I second everything that Abigail has said. It was a delight to participate with all of you today and open up doors to potential future collaborations. And again, thank you, Mary. Your support is beyond compare. It wouldn't have been the same without you for sure. So, and thanks to the whole Catalyst organization for providing this space for us to really engage with the most significant conversations of our time. There's no doubt about that. You know, it's something that is beyond what we do in our daily lives, and being able to find people with similar concerns and commitments to us, no matter where they are in the world, is a tremendous privilege. It really is. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Renia. Thank you, Abigail. And thank you all for really making this commitment to yourselves and to us and honoring this space. It's been amazing and I loved listening to you. Super energizing, as you said. And I hope this energy stays with you throughout of the day, throughout of the week. Sending you all a big kiss and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.